This is the Living in Clarity podcast. My name is Brandon Fisher. This is Coach Ratner, and I'm so excited, and I think you will be excited to hear our guest today, which is Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser. He's got a story, and I don't want to give anything away before we get into it. I'd love to have you tell your story a little bit, but I will first start by introducing your company, which is called Living Inspired, where you offer seminars to help people kind of maximize their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So without wasting any time, I'd love to hear you tell a little bit of how you got to where you are. Where did these beautiful, not quite dreadlocks come from, and what are you doing here in Israel?
Mm-hmm. So I'm a type of personality that's a kind of a rare personality that doesn't fit in systems.
That's an understatement.
There's certain, which is interesting because the community that goes with these is very systematized, like extremely systematized. And I'm doing a lot of healing work with that community right now. But there's certain people that never ever fit in, meaning there's a lot of people who don't fit in because things went wrong with the system. I'm not one of those people, meaning it was never even from the get-go, meaning my kindergarten teacher and I could not get along. It's like, so there's these personalities, they're rare personalities that any superstructure is like, it's like Mandarin Chinese.
Right, you have no idea, you can't fit in.
Don't know what they're talking about, doesn't relate, I see right through it, since, there's something off with it, and then you're out. And so I was basically that kid as a young man and as a baby, as a little kid and growing up. I mean, I've done a lot of deep work on myself, and there's never a trauma that had this happen. Uh-huh. Like this is just the way it always was, which makes for a pretty lonely and lost feeling as a kid. But I quickly, to take care of that, I quickly went into a what we call in the Possible You seminar, which is my flagship seminar. It's called a survival strategy, and that was to create a system of my own. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to recreate the world.
So then it sounds like the challenge isn't systems; it's other people imposing their systems on you.
Yeah, except that what I was really going for was optimization. Okay. And meaning just optimizing. That was it. I wasn't trying to create a system, but I was trying to optimize. So even as a little kid, I had kids following me around. And by the time I was 11, when I was thrown out of school every single day till I was 11. Mm-hmm. At 11, I realized, like, this is not for me. I'm not going to be here. Like
when I first met you, I think in Connecticut at a seminar, people are still following you around. I mean, they still follow you around.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that have taken your Possible You seminars, both in, I believe, in New York and in Israel, and they've been blown away by your seminars. I want to hear more about that as we get into this interview.
Sure.
First, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in West Los Angeles in a place called Brentwood, which is basically the 3 Bs are Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Brentwood, going west. Uh-huh. And each one's a little more modest with their wealth.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Brentwood's like pretty private place. Right. And
O.J. Simpson was from?
Yeah, I went to, his daughter was in my class.
Oh, no way.
His son was in my brother's class.
Right.
And yeah, I missed the night when one of the greatest nights for my friends was when his son OD'd on cocaine that night, and whatever, he freaked out. So
you're not talking about the night of the white van, are you?
No.
Okay.
Anyway, but they had to take him to the hospital, and OJ came and bawled out all my friends.
Wow.
And I missed it. I was like,
oh, you weren't there.
I don't know what it must have been a family symptom.
Maybe it was good you weren't there.
Well, I did miss getting bawled out by OJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, my friends were like, "You missed it. He almost killed us."
Yeah, you probably almost did, right?
Yeah.
Although he's found innocent, so we have to,
Yeah.
Wow. So clearly you were not raised in a traditional religious environment.
No, not at all. It was more atheist on my mother's side. traditional on my father's side, but that just meant you had to be at home for Shabbos dinner.
Okay.
That's
So
nice.
during Shabbos dinner, our home was filling with friends. And
Sure.
as soon as we got the get-go, we got the nod from my father, we could head out into town, But we never heard the word malacha or anything.
No.
Yeah.
Now you're famously known as the surfing rabbi.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Just athletic. I grew up surfing my whole life and skating and skateboarding and mountain biking.
Right.
And later I added yoga and dropped skateboarding.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it kind of
Good
hurts
trade-offs.
when you fall.
Yeah.
It hurts a little less in yoga.
And surfing's a
falling.
lot softer.
And
too.
you can do yoga now where you probably don't surf. For
I still surf.
skateboard though. You don't.
Skating, and
No,
not
Too dangerous when you get past like 50.
Yeah, not interested in skating.
Mountain biking is fine.
Mountain biking's good. I ride elite level mountain biking, so I'm you don't really fall on the technical stuff. You fall when you're not paying attention to something.
Which
Oh,
I believe
interesting.
happened to you, didn't it?
Yeah, I was actually sitting on my bike.
Yeah, I think like
I was
3 years
sitting
ago.
on my 3 years ago. I was sitting on my bike and just tipped over.
And what happened?
Broke my leg
Like badly, right?
very badly.
Yeah.
You just tipped over. You were parked. You were
Yeah.
sitting on your bike. Did you fall
I had
down
just
the
come
mountain?
down a major downhill run,
And you were at the bottom.
and I was at the bottom, and I was just coming to a stop. Just literally coming to a stop,
Wow.
and I just tipped over, and somehow my foot wound up over the top bar, and
Oh,
I don't want to explain it.
No,
'cause
but
it's really-
from what I understand, remember 3 years, it was very bad.
it was bad. Yeah,
But now you're
Yeah.
getting back on the bike. I think this is a great
I was
place
back
to
on my
start.
bike in about 6 months.
Oh,
Wow.
gosh.
Is that sooner than the doctors would have recommended?
Yeah, when I came to physical therapy to learn how to walk, I walked there, and they're like,
Okay.
"Where are you walking?"
Yeah.
So I realized that I just go to the mikveh. I go to the mikveh every day.
Uh-huh.
So I would
Explain what
take.
a mikveh
I had one of those removable casts,
Yeah,
like a boot.
mikveh is a spiritual bath.
Yeah, ritual bath.
Ritual bath, right.
So we start with Hasidim start their day every day in the ritual bath. So I realized just once everyone leaves, I'm just going to walk on the bottom in the pool. I was just doing my own physical therapy
Sure.
from immediately.
Did you realize that when you were surfing as a young kid, you were in the mikveh almost every day in the ocean?
Yeah, it's interesting, the relationship to water. Like I've always been in water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in water my whole life. I surfed 6 to 8 hours a day for 12 years.
It was a full-time profession
Yeah, all over the world.
all over the world.
Portugal too?
Yeah, what makes you bring up Portugal?
Because my son is looking to go to Portugal to skiing to north of Lisbon. There's a beach with the biggest waves in the world.
Oh, yeah, Nazaré.
Yeah, Nazaré. Yeah, he's looking at Airbnbs to go there right now
Oh, that's interesting. What for?
to surf.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I surfed Portugal also. Hmm I'd actually surfed the Pro Tour the Pro Tour goes France, Spain, Portugal, or it used to anyway.
Right.
And I had been with the Pro Tour for France and Spain and Portugal. And then the very next year, I wound up getting a scholarship to Aish Hatorah in Jerusalem.
How did you get there? And why
Basically,
was that appealing to you?
I was going for the free scholarship
Yeah.
because I wanted to get back to France, Spain, and Portugal.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
My father manufactured surfwear, and his business went bankrupt. And the year it went bankrupt, first time I ever needed money. So I got that scholarship. And then Dustin Hoffman came along and bought his house.
Your
And-
father's house.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this was a big house.
Yeah.
It is a big house. And he bought my father's house. So in that little window between the bankruptcy and the purchase of his house was exactly when I got that ticket
Wow.
to Jerusalem.
How did you get this scholarship? Who was giving it?
Aish Hatorah.
Okay.
Yeah. Aish
How'd you
Hatorah.
even find out about that? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, so my brother Sam was at Aish Hatorah 7 years prior to this story.
Okay.
And
He's a music producer, right?
Yeah, he produces music, he's a composer. And he had been at Aish for several months. Now, no one can be at Aish for several months without knowing too much
Mhm.
about Judaism. And but he came back to LA and never told us what he had studied.
Really?
He never told us. Yeah, I think he was a little embarrassed because when you know that much and you don't do anything about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure he was doing stuff about it, but he wasn't. He didn't
Outwardly.
become observant.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he never really told us. He used it as like a break glass in case of emergency.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
And
Sure.
I was the emergency because I was
Oh.
graduating UCSB
Sure.
And I was protesting the Gulf War. And
You were protesting.
Yeah, the Gulf War. I was a full-on progressive, like atheist, liberal. Like I would have been a BDSer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought marrying a Jew was racist, and I was going to renounce my citizenship to the U.S. and move to Australia.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've never heard this story.
yeah. I was done. I was just finished with.
There is good surfing out there.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was kind of the point.
I got it. Yeah.
So that was part of the deal. Was I got a free ticket to Jerusalem, and then I was gonna go to France, Spain, Portugal again, South Africa, straight to Australia, and then just stay in Australia.
You had your plans set.
It was set, yeah.
So what happened when you got to Israel?
Well, I got to Aish Hatorah, and
what happened?
I was with a group of 30 fairly educated people, very educated people, and they were fighting with the rabbis. These young Jewish people were arguing from a more atheist perspective, and certainly that Torah is a written document and man-written document, and it's just a cultural phenomenon in Judaism. Whereas the rabbis were saying, no, this is actually real. There actually is a God, and Torah is not written by human beings. And anyway, so they were fighting. No, I was a surfer. I wasn't in the fight.
Right.
But I'm smart enough to follow the fight. So it was more like ping pong. It was like, back and forth between the rabbis and these college graduates. And all 30 are observant today.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The whole group's observant.
So I guess they lost the battle.
It's like losing and winning.
They won the battle.
You lose the battle, but you won the lottery basically. At
what point did you chime in, or did you just watch the whole thing?
Yeah, I just watched. I remember asking one great rabbi guy by the name of Rav Yaakov Weinberg, Rav Noach Weinberg's brother.
Yes.
Of Nereus
Israel in Baltimore.
So I remember asking him what's wrong with wearing shorts.
And what did he
say?
The
whole group was wearing shorts.
Yeah.
All the girls wearing tank tops.
Sure. And what did he say?
He gave the best answer. It was amazing.
Yeah.
You know what he said?
No.
He said something you should never, ever, ever say to anyone.
Okay.
But if you're him, you can say it.
Okay.
Which tells us a great lesson is become the kind of person that you can say things that are so not politically correct, but yet it still goes straight through. Meaning you become the kind of character that your character is so refined that you can say anything.
It's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what he said to me? He said, I'm not going to do his accent because I'd kill my throat. But if you had any, but I'm not going to do that. If you had any self-respect whatsoever, you would not be asking me this question.
Wow.
Whoa.
He hammered me.
What did that?
It was like, if you had any self-respect whatsoever, and just hammer me in the ground. And I was like, he's right. I have no self-respect. I don't. My group doesn't. I think my entire generation doesn't. And we're with a man who's like the essence of self-respect. And it was so real and so intense and funny too. It was really funny. Like, how could this guy say this to me? And yet I couldn't argue, and he was right. And he was on that level that he could say such a thing to me and get me on a path of self-respect quickly. Like we're this body is the temple of a soul. Now, of course, none of us in the group knew we had a soul at the time.
Right.
And we had never thought about consciousness as maybe being the soul and whatever.
So for some of our viewers, soul still is something that people don't have such clarity on. How do you teach what a soul is now that you've figured it out a little bit?
Yeah, so the soul is your consciousness. Consciousness does not take place anywhere physically. It doesn't show up in brain scans. Can't find it in an MRI. There's no I in an MRI. It's eternal. It's there when you're sleeping. It's there when you're awake. It knows no time. It's the same exact consciousness when you were a little baby as you have today. I mean, obviously, the thoughts, which is not consciousness, thoughts are not conscious. And it's very important to separate them.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, I think one of the reasons people have such a hard time with soul, meaning that they're so mystified by it, is because most people are hijacked by the 60,000 thoughts a day. People think 60,000 thoughts a day, which is about 3,500 thoughts an hour.
Wow.
None of those thoughts are consciousness. Consciousness is when you're not thinking. Like, just take a moment right now. Just be here. And feel that feeling inside that you have when you're present. And you can take a breath, like a deep breath. And that is the consciousness. And when I say it's the soul, it's really just the outer membrane of a very endless part of us that stretches into the ether of spirituality and the spiritual worlds. And it just has an outer representation, which is consciousness. And it's eternal, doesn't know hot or cold, doesn't know anything but connection and love, energy.
Yeah. Have you heard the idea that the black holes that scientists discovered in the universe are actually the resting places for our souls at night?
I never heard that.
Yeah, and I went to this article and it's trying to prove how that when our souls, in Judaism, when we wake up in the morning, the first thing we say is Modeh ani lefanecha, which means we're thanking God for returning our souls to us, because it's almost like we were dead. And that the scientist is trying to prove that our souls at night go back to, that's what the black holes are. Resting place for our souls. In the morning we get them back and we're human again.
I think Kabbalah says that what happens is we have 5 levels of soul, and I'm not going to translate now, but they're called the Yechida, the Chaya, the Neshama, the Ruach, and the Nefesh. And the part that USB cable interfaces into your brain,
Yes,
so that you can be conscious, is that would be meaning of the whole level of the Nefesh. It's myriads of gradations. It's that little tiny white at the tip of your fingernail.
Yeah.
That's the USB cable click. And so when we are awake, we lose sight of the upper levels of the soul, much like you lose sight of the stars because of the light of the sun.
right. They're still there.
Yeah.
But you're not aware of them.
Exactly.
You're not thinking about them. You're not seeing them.
So,
same with our soul. We don't.
Right. So you can't really sense those things and those upper levels. When we sleep, now this level shuts down and then we get to ride up.
How do you bring that into your daily life when you are awake?
Well, one thing is a simple practical thing is that the Torah lists 365 negative commandments. Thou shalt not. And I know it sounds un-American to say thou shalt not do anything, because everyone's got to be able to do whatever they want.
Yeah,
but
free to do whatever I want any old time.
Right, which of course, try that in a movie theater.
Yeah.
Shh. That was un-American. Yeah. So clearly refraining, like, for example, refraining from rubbernecking the waitress while on a date with your wife. That would be something else you should probably avoid.
Yes.
So refraining is a very good thing to do if you want anything great to happen. And so given a divine Torah, so those 365 are the greatest protection of you to stay cognizant of your soul. Meaning if I meet someone who says I don't have any connection to it, at least a Jew, because Gentiles don't have to deal with 365 negative commandments. But when I meet someone who's not you'll notice, by the way, that Gentiles are often way more spiritual.
Oh, they are.
They don't have to worry about.
They don't have to do it.
Well, they don't have to worry about blowing it with 365 things, which comes with about 30,000 laws that
they
when
have
listed.
7.
To protect it.
They do 7, they go to heaven.
Exactly, and they're pretty broad stroked. You know,
Yes.
like don't tear the limb off a live animal. Okay, I don't think I did that today. And
Live by laws and courts and justices.
courts of justice, not serve idols. Like it's broad stroke
Right.
stuff. Whereas the negative commandments for the Jews are like extremely fine stroke. And anyway, but if one is very careful with that, there will be at least as spiritual as a Gentile. But but then you got 248 positive commandments that are like turbocharged, direct link, like lock on. Now, of course, people can be fast asleep doing for all of this.
Right.
And so many are hijacked by their thoughts. And then there's the mind numbing, social media, news feeds,
Well, it makes you don't think.
Yeah.
Think yourself.
Yeah, there's no lack of ability to find yourself lost, which is an oxymoron. If you found yourself, you're not lost, but to find yourself lost.
Well, people do drugs.
Hopefully you find yourself at that point and realize that you're lost.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're living in a crazy time.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you're seeing in the bigger world now, since you work with a lot of people and you help a lot of them out. What are some of the biggest challenges that you notice out there?
Or how did the possible youth seminar start? I want to find out how that happened.
Okay, well, you guys just gave me 2 separate subjects. I think on the bigger macro thing, I think we're in a tug of war of powers way beyond our private lives. I think that we're in hot water and we don't know it. Kind of like a lobster. There's people, you're not allowed to do this. Speaking of tearing limbs off live animals, that's cruelty to animals. You're not allowed to cook a fresh lobster in cold water that's alive, which is how they make it the freshest.
Right.
Is they just let it boil. I'm pretty sure we're all inside a pot of warm water
getting hotter
since COVID.
Increasingly,
Since COVID, I would say it's like already jacuzzi style.
Yes. Both physically and spiritually.
Yeah, and now if you look on YouTube, you'll see that all kinds of exposés are happening about what happened over the last couple of years, and whether justice will be served on that, I doubt it, because there's just so many people in bed with each other in that whole system that I have a feeling it's just going to keep heating up. And I don't know what's going to happen. So what I think is best for all of us is to have I think we all need to come back to nature a little bit. Be careful with what we're putting in our bodies.
Oh, yes.
Eat food that's as close to the way God makes it.
Yes.
I think water's a good beverage.
Yeah.
Self-determining. I think we need to be self-determining. I think we have to be really careful of our civil liberties. My sense is Israel's going to win this whole thing. I think that I think Israel's maybe the safest place to be on earth, and it's going to get more and more that way. We have such an isolated culture here. They're able to shut this place down if necessary, and protect it. And because of all the existential threats, Jewish people have suffered throughout history, that I think the state of Israel is willing to stop at nothing to protect us.
Because we have nowhere else to go.
Right.
I think it's just like, you die, we die. I don't think there's we have no choice. It's not like, we can go somewhere else. Right now we're fighting for our lives, and we have nowhere else to go, and we have to. There's no other option.
No losing here.
There's no losing here. There's nothing that exists.
No.
So, and I think, like my son's now, the age to go to the army, and he's like excited to fight for something that he believes in for the first time in his life. He wants to believes in something.
Nice.
You know, and we talk about, like, you know, where's the safest place to be? People, is it safe there? It's the safest place in the world. I'm so comfortable walking anywhere in the middle of the night with my kids, anywhere.
Women too walk alone here.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah, assault is not like
Doesn't
high
exist.
on the list here.
No.
I mean, I know there's thievery, but they
There
usually leave your tefillin on the shelf.
They do. And it's usually just like bikes.
They're not going to knock the tefillin off the shelf.
No.
It's
Who are the forces at play here?
In what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Who are the...
Oh, gosh. I mean, well, the biggest bed buddies seem to be, in the last few years, seem to be tech, media, and government.
Yeah.
And big pharma.
Yes.
Tech, media, government, big pharma, they all seem to be in bed together, which is like, you know, I mean, we trust government for oversight. Mm-hmm. And you can't have government oversight if they're in bed with the people they're supposed to be overseeing. Right. So, yeah, I think that's what's going on. And again, I'm not big into it, so you can't like ask me detail. I don't know detail, but I'll tell you one thing: when you're living your life the way I live, and the way, interestingly, the way Hasidim live, you smell skunks a mile away. Meaning, when your instincts are on, you just smell the skunk a mile away. There's something called instinct, and I know we were told not to trust it. Meaning, we were told during COVID, don't trust your instincts. Like, don't follow the science, which of course was doing 180 every day.
Right. Yeah.
And
follow the science. Follow the science.
Right.
Follow the science.
and in story.
Okay, follow the science. You get a booster. You get your booster.
And put your instincts on the side, but there is something called instinct, and instincts don't lie. They don't lie, and we smelled the skunk, you know. And very interestingly, you want to hear something interesting? You remember? I don't know if you remember me riding my bike into the old city every day.
Of course, I do. Yes.
So I rode like a bat out of hell, because there's certain people who, to feel alive, need a lot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
So I would unconsciously make sure I was late every day, just to have that adrenaline rush to get in late. So I would come flying around turns in the old city, and now I got like a nice shot, like where I can see more or less what's up ahead. So I would fly, and if it was a group of African tourists way up ahead, meaning like at least 100 yards ahead, every single person in that entire tour group would go like this. And then I never even would touch my brakes. I wouldn't even feather my brakes.
They'd all move aside.
They would just perfectly move in a way that I could fly through with my handlebar. It could be even within millimeters, because I'm in full instincts at that speed. Nothing ever happened, ever. But like now put a Jewish group, or a Jew, one Jew, headset, smartphone. Yeah. I mean, they would literally turn into my bike. My handlebar would hit a smartphone and shoot it like 200 feet. No. And anyway, but it's very interesting that the more tribal Hasidic community and the African American community smelled the skunk like immediately.
African American or African?
No, African Americans. I don't know what was going on in America, but like they smelled the skunk immediately with the virus, and with the vaccine immediately. They're like, huh, you know, like no, they wouldn't take the vaccine, and the Chassidim were like, we're not taking your vaccine, you know. They were no way, you know, they were out, and I had the same instincts. Like I sensed it instinctually. There's a skunk here. This isn't real. I couldn't tell you why. And I'm a science background type person. I'm like, I wasn't interested in that, and I certainly don't like conspiracies. But now we're a lot smarter, and you can just watch every expose today is all about it, you know, about the origins, about they now know. There was just a major EU meeting, and they now have found SARS-1 is man-made, and not only that, but they found that the vaccines were not some, like, what did they call it? The quick movement, the
what's the name for it?
Mach speed. I don't know.
Yeah. They probably had the vaccine before they had
2001, I think it was,
Yeah.
and in 2003 they already declared it that they were not able to. They weren't able to keep up with mutations. That it was ineffective. 2003 that this vaccine, which is the one they gave everyone, is from the early 2000s.
They have to give another one.
Well, no, that's all just part of the hoax.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it's a few $1 billion every time they come out with a vaccine.
Right. Anyway, so I believe we're in some kind of hot water.
Okay.
Yeah. And I imagine the only thing we can do is follow our instincts. Now, here's the scary part, is that Israel was totally on this program.
Yeah.
Totally on this program.
We couldn't leave our house.
Well, there was the lockdowns, but then there was also the vaccine push.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Israel pushed it.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a politically divisive,
very divisive
topic.
I don't like the topic at all. Like, we had rules at my Shabbos table.
Yeah.
Like, no discussing it.
Vaccine.
Yeah, I told my kids, I have kids of all ages, married kids. And I told everyone, I said, listen, you can take the vaccine in 2 years.
Okay.
Let's see first what it does.
Yeah. So I want to go back to a little bit to how you came to this class at Aish Hatorah, and everyone, they were fighting. And so how did you end up as a teacher at Aish Hatorah? How did the whole thing happen?
Well, you can't not be a teacher at Aish Hatorah. The Rabbi Weinberg's, philosophy was, if you know Aleph, teach Aleph. If you know Bet, teach Bet.
Yeah.
If you know Gimel, teach Gimel. If you know something, you got to teach it. His analogy, he said, was that the Jewish people are like a fire, and when you have a fire, you don't use your water purifier to put it out. Let's say you have a fire in your kitchen.
Yeah.
You just take it straight out of the tap. You don't wait for the purifier to purify the water so you can put out a fire. Mm-hmm. So even though we could have all used more time, studying Judaism before we teach it, he didn't feel that was necessary.
So how long were you a student for?
About an hour. 6 weeks after I started learning Aleph Bet, I was already in charge of the last class of Discovery.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's quick. What was that normal?
Well, it was quick for maybe the average student, but Aish recognized that I had, as we were speaking about before, I had a magnetic personality, and it would probably be a good thing to do that. Yeah. It was a whole discussion about what to do with the information from the Discovery Seminar. It was more of a discussion.
Why don't you explain to our viewers what the Discovery Seminar is?
So the Discovery Seminar, instead of using the word Torah, which sounds like a religious document, and God as this deity, instead we take the Torah and we call it just a document, and instead of God, we say author. So, because there's no one who would argue that the Torah is a document. I mean, you could be the biggest atheist in the world, but you still know there's a document called Torah. And documents have authors. So we have a very simple inquiry. Could a human being have authored the document? That's our question.
That's the question, right?
Yeah, we're not saying it's God.
Right.
We're saying, is it a human? Could maybe a Martian.
Sure.
But could a human have authored it? And what it does is take you through multiple modules. And the modules are actually modeled after the way we verify, the way the Mossad verifies a spy.
Mossad is the Israeli CIA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The Israeli Secret Service. And if they have a spy in another country, let's say a spy is in Iran, and that spy is going to be able to take down their radar so that we can bring in an F-16 or F-35 and blow out a reactor. Mm-hmm. So we need to know a lot of things. For example, we need to know if that's really our spy sending the communication. We need to know if the spy can do what he says he's going to do. We need to know that the spy isn't with a gun to his head feeding us lines from the Iranian government. The spy's going to have to send us some kind of codes. He's not going to just send us a WhatsApp. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the Mossad has ways they verify both their guy and the information that he or she is providing. And so what they did basically in the discovery seminars, they took the same what's the right term for that qualifications, methodologies of verification that we use, that we will risk our F-35 and risk our national security on.
Mm-hmm.
The same exact verification methodology we used for the Torah.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting, by the way, because first of all, no religion in the world would ever use a methodology like this. And it brings up a lot of implications.
Yeah.
The people in their religion wouldn't ask for it.
Only
Jews.
I was wondering, does the Quran, do they want to put this Quran to the test?
No, and they wouldn't bother. They wouldn't
do this.
They wouldn't even bother.
No. Does anyone care?
Well, the thing is like this: is they don't say that the Quran's written by God. It's written by Muhammad.
Okay.
And the New Testament's they say is written by these apostles who lived a couple hundred years after Jesus. So
they don't need to do it.
Handwritten. We're the ones coming with.
We're the only ones saying that
we're coming with the
God.
divine document
Right.
here.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's interesting that Jews are like, if you want to find a non-believer, find a Jew, because Jews have a lot of resistance, which is also divine.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like interesting. Why are Jews so resistant?
Well, the word Israel is named after Yaakov, whose name was changed to Israel, after he fought with an angel, God's angel.
Right.
That's why the word Israel means struggling with God.
Struggling with God.
We struggle with God.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, which makes sense because it's Torah is a big, it's a tall order of what it's asking us to do.
It's a lot.
Yeah, but we are a nation of priests, and priests generally have more rules.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're a light to the nations, and it comes with more rules. Like, for example, it's kind of a funny example, but like women who would like to wear whatever they want, and right outside our studio here is Ben Yehuda Street, where if you're a married man, you probably should keep your eyes pretty low to the ground if you want to honor your wife. And but women want to wear whatever they want. But when a woman becomes an executive, she suddenly has like more clothing,
modesty.
When a woman goes from waitress to manager of a restaurant, suddenly she's wearing more.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's in the management of the company. Let's say it's chain.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly she's wearing more. And now, when she's on the executive level, she'd have to go to like a Jewish neighborhood to buy the clothing. Because there's not enough.
Why is that?
There's not enough fabric in a store to dress an executive lady. A lot of women from Manhattan shop in Borough Park.
Oh, they do.
They shop in the Hasidic towns to get their clothing for their executive positions.
Why is that? I've never thought about that.
There's something that has to do with self-respect.
Back to the shorts.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then they have more respect.
It's just
so because of that, they dress more modestly. So that means when they're not dressed modestly, they don't feel like they don't want to be respected.
I don't think it's about wanting or not wanting. I think what happens is that when you're not really in a state of accountability, you kind of want to do whatever you want. But if you opt toward a life of accountability, all of a sudden your self-respect goes up, and then just somehow, like as a natural progression, your self-respect and modesty grows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting thing. And Jordan Peterson, who's just this huge influencer today, has this weird thing going on, weird theme of being dressed up. So he wears, like these thousands of dollars suits, and at every event. And the funny thing is he's doing these events where like 7,000 people come, or 10,000 people, or 5,000 people. All the men come dressed up. Women also.
Wow.
But there's this, it's like, it's exactly what we're talking about. And it's very hard to put our finger on what this all means, but meaning how to really understand this.
Mm-hmm.
But he feels a great responsibility in what he's doing, and it's lending him to this clothing.
Let's get back into talking about the Possible You seminars, which is your flagship program that you offer.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
So it's a very, very deep work on one's vibrational energy. Human beings have, just like our voices are working vibrationally, and I'm sure this is being watched digitally, which is all just ones and zeros, which is frequencies. You know, everything happens mathematically. That's it. And these colors, everything, you know, the white light is 6,000 oscillations per second. The soft white is 2,800 or 3,000. The instruments playing, everything's frequencies. Right. So human beings have a core vibration that's pure and good, and that's why you're attracted to. For example, a toddler just draws everyone's attention. Toddler runs in the room, and everyone's just like, oh, like you can't not look at that toddler, and you want to hold it. And so I'll be sitting in a park, and if a toddler spots me in a park, I'll be with my kids and grandkids and sitting on the grass. If a toddler spots me in the park, a random toddler, it will V-line across the park, jump into my arms with its siblings chasing it, jump in my arms, put my arms around it, and the siblings are like, he's ours. And my family's just laughing because this happens all the time. That's so I was just on a flight, and the steward was like an elderly man. He sold me a little something for my daughter from duty free, but he wasn't leaving. Meaning we were done with the transaction, like go. And I'm like, can I help you? And he says, I've never felt this safe in my life. What is it about you? And I said, well, everyone feels that way around me. And but we have a vibration, a core vibration, and that vibration gets obscured. It gets eclipsed by lots of things. And, but you can shed those things. It's not easy. It's actually, to come to the possible you, you have to be a pretty strong personality to begin with. You have to be pretty healthy and normal and, good. You have to be doing,
they do.
I don't do background checks. What I do is my leaders and I have leaders leading in as well besides me. We basically are checking the people on the first date. Okay. They don't know we're doing this, but I guess now that we're talking about it, and we will escort someone out afterwards and refund them their money if they're not fit to be able to do it. We want to keep the funnel wide. We don't want to be screening people too much because every person deserves this healing. Sure. So we keep a wide funnel, but yeah, we do have to escort someone out.
How long does the seminar last?
It depends. Mine is longer than the women's. When I lead it, I lead the men's. Right. It's about 25 hours. Okay. Like for example, this coming week I'll have Jerusalem.
Oh, you will?
And first time in a long time. I don't lead it here too often. I have 5 centers. Jerusalem, London, Lakewood, Brooklyn, and Muncie. Okay. And those are up and running. There are about 65 people working.
So are they doing seminars even when you're not there?
Yeah, sure. And there's a full follow-up with staff and lots of coaches, many of whom are professionally licensed. Some are professors. And there's a professor at Yeshiva University who wrote his PhD on the Possible You seminar. Wow. Yeah, he actually has his doctorate on this seminar.
How does that feel?
What degree do I have? It's like I don't have any degree. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The 5th grade dropout. Yeah. Yeah.
Who is it for?
It's just for human beings.
Human beings looking for.
I'd rather they weren't looking for anything.
Great.
Yeah. I don't mind them thinking that they're coming to get something. I tell them, like, come in with your intention. But like they say in all healing work, you come in with your intention and then you send it to the wind. So I don't mind that someone's coming in because he wants to make a bunch of money, because people do make a lot of money afterwards. I would say, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe 30% of the participants are just coming because they know someone who made a lot of money after the seminar.
Okay.
Meaning they had a business and that business just went like way beyond 10x right after the seminar. So probably 30% of the people are coming for that. But they realize soon after that the wide funnel just, like, now it's a rabbit hole and it's getting tight, and he's starting to cry, and you know, and all of these emotions are coming up, and he's like, whatever happened to the business stuff? And I'm like, see how you'll apply it to your business later. This is not about business. It's about our vibration.
That deeper level of the soul.
The pure, it really is the soul, and it's our pure vibration, and it is accessible. It better be. I mean, it's our truth. It's the truth about you. It's the part of you that is unbreakable. And though is severely lost in the haze, by most people are human beings. Let's put it like this: human beings have no identity. Meaning, the 99% of people, if you ask them who are you, first of all, they wouldn't want to say. But if you really press them and ask them to say who they are, you could be able to take it apart in about a minute. People's identity, most people's identity anyway, is what they do.
Yes.
But doing and being are two very separate things. There's who you are being, that's the soul. And then there's what you're doing. But, in a world where Arbeiten macht frei, where work makes free, like it said on the gates of Auschwitz, where we live in the, for example, this culture it's United States culture everywhere, which is, I call it the United States of Esav, Jacob's brother, the world of doing, that you just can do instead of be. And the reason why is because most people are willing to say really nasty things about themselves. Again, we think 60,000 thoughts a day, 3,500 thoughts an hour. And a large percentage of those thoughts are very negative towards ourselves. We are our worst enemy. And I mean that quite literally. Meaning, let's say you had someone you really hated. You probably would narrow it down to one adjective, jerk or whatever. With us, we have multiple adjectives that are applicable in all different kinds of scenarios. And we are ruthless in how we will do it. And all of that is being. Meaning, because they are I am statements. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. I'm not good. And I'm being nice. Because really, we don't say I'm not good. We say I'm bad.
Right.
And we say I'm ugly. And we say I'm stupid. It's not that, and it's not that I'm unworthy. It's that I'm worthless. And it just is relentless. And that is the major cover up on the soul. Because the soul is the ultimate being. It is our true being. Well, if I have all these adjectives, well, that's a huge barrier that's covering up my being. And if it only ended there, that'd be great. Like if I pull out my earpods to be the true being, like let's call this the true being.
Sorry.
I should get royalties from Apple for this. But let's say this is the true being. And that's covered up by negative statements and being. But it doesn't end there. People immediately create a persona in the world of doing.
A fake one.
A fight and flight persona, where I'm going to dominate or I'm going to hide. One or the other. I'm either going to fight and dominate, or I'm going to hide and avoid and escape to be who I am, as if doing could be being. But doing can't be being. Doing's doings and being beings. But I can, so here's me, the pure me, the essential me.
Soul. This
is the cover up of that me with all the negative self-talk. And then this is the persona I'm letting everyone else know that I am. And so there's no chance. No one's getting to that. And so when you ask who it's for people. It's for people, because every person has this, and every person has that, and every person is doing that. And it's a horrible self-imposed exile that as they say in the Bronx, ain't nobody got time for that. And life is passing by, and it's affecting people's cortisol levels. It's affecting people's oxygen intake. People don't breathe properly. It's affecting people's digestion, musculature, posture, diet. So it's a for sure health risk, and definitely going to shorten life for a person, affecting their intimate relationships, and maybe even having one at all. It's affecting one's his self-imposed limitations financially, and where they could take their business and their ability. It's just everything about these blockages must be removed, and so I'm now doing this for 22 years. We have
Possible Youth Seminar.
Possible Youth now 22 years.
I had no idea.
Yeah, we have we now over 12,000 graduates. Full follow-up system going, and
I was going to ask about the follow-up system. I'd love to know a little bit what that looks like after you finish.
Yeah, it comes with 4 meetings. The group gets together
Face to face.
Yeah.
So they become like a unit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, these people! Like when they all walk into the room, it's so awkward. You don't want to see anyone you know. You don't want to. Yeah. You don't want to be admitting you're coming for help as if it's not even self-help. This is like just be normal. So but the funny thing I tell them on that, when they're all feeling so awkward, I always say to them that I know on this first day you're feeling this way, but you should know on the last day, meaning the last night we'll be together, don't make any plans for the following morning, because you're going to not be able to leave each other. You're going to be closer to one another than your own siblings, because the level of connection that happens as that vibration is revealed, the true vibration, well, that vibration perfectly connects to everyone. Now, but the poor guys in the seminar think this is the only person they're ever going to connect to, meaning their group.
Sure.
And I keep assuring them, like, no, you're actually going to walk out into your world tomorrow, and you'll see the WhatsApps. The WhatsApps are, a guy will say, like, I haven't been to shul since I'm married. I just had a guy with xenophobia. He hadn't been to shul since he's married. His poor wife, they can't go to family events, nothing. He makes his living on sales, phone call sales. Wealthy guy.
A religious man?
Religious guy. Hasidic man.
He won't go anywhere, or just not to shul?
Nowhere.
Don't go anywhere.
Certainly not shul. Yeah, nowhere. This man has been suffering for many, many years, and his wife also. And kids. It's embarrassing. She's humiliated in front of her parents, and she has to go alone to family events.
Sure.
And, anyway, the bottom line, this was my last week's seminar. I travel every week or two. So I'm flying.
Always back to the U.S.?
Well, London, U.S. Anyway, he went to the biggest synagogue in his city, walked in there, and led mincha, led the afternoon service.
He had a breakthrough.
Yeah, he's free.
After your seminar?
He's free. He's been out ever since.
How many people are the typical seminar?
Great.
What?
How many people in the typical seminar?
I would say the average these days is about 30, 35 maybe. Yeah, but sometimes we're over 40. I'm trying to think where to cap it exactly. I haven't figured that out. So I've trained leaders to lead it as well. So now the women's seminar, there's 5 women leading.
Great.
And we're about to have our first Jerusalem seminar for women in like 10 years or something.
So led by women.
Led by a woman. I'm flying one in. I fly my staff to London also, and now I'm flying in staff to staff this one here in Jerusalem.
And where's that going to be?
I don't know. I think it'll be in Jerusalem. I'm pretty sure. I'll just rent a hall somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. And the main thing is it needs to be able to get pitch black during the day, because a part of the intensive emotions that come. A lot of emotion comes when you're shedding your identity, what happens is it seems to bring up where the whole thing started. Meaning, whatever caused you to detour from your true self, whatever caused that, which is usually pretty traumatic. There's embarrassing things or family dynamics that were felt unsafe, and all the way to real trauma, like real abuse. What happens is, as you're shedding your skin, it takes you down this like vibrational tunnel all the way back to the shadow originally cast from childhood, which is like not necessarily my intention. We're working here in 2023 and we're doing our work and we're really we're shedding this vibration that's not us. Right. But what happens is that original shadow cast, which is painful vibrations from childhood, start vibrating. And so we want to be able to get it pitch black, that everyone in that room feels that no one's watching and and that is partially why we need to make sure everyone's healthy to go through it. Yeah. So, because by day 3, like, it's full volcanic eruptions going on.
Is this through meditation?
Yeah, I'm taking people into these meditations, but you don't have to know how to meditate. On day 1, everyone's just getting hijacked by their thoughts throughout the first meditation.
Right.
But by day 3, they're ready to go in.
Is it a 4-day seminar?
Yeah, and by the 4th day, in Jerusalem we usually do 5 days, but the women's going to be 4. By the last day, the 4th day, it's amazing. I can get an entire room of men who could not concentrate in a meditation for more than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
The entire group has come to full quiet of a meditative state that you'd have to go to India for 12 years to achieve.
Or a lot of drugs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe.
That's what it is.
Yeah, but the entire room is in full consciousness and have met their soul. No one could deny the existence of a soul in that room. You're there. You're there. And it's so amazing to take a group from 4 days previous who it's like they've got a gnat flying around their head, constantly buzzing, to pure focus and concentration of a spiritual, soulful vibration.
Wow. Yeah. How does someone find, if someone wants to take the seminar, either in London, Jerusalem, or in New York?
They just go to RabbiYomTov.com.
RabbiYomTov.com.
Yeah. And there's a lot of YouTube videos called The Possible You, so you can...
Possible You Seminar.
The Possible You Seminar. So someone can just put The Possible You Seminar on YouTube or Torah Anytime, or just go to my website. I have videos in there. And
you have meditations up there as well?
Meditation
on your website.
Also, yeah.
Like, there's lots of great content.
Yeah.
RabbiYomTov.com, and on your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel, Rabbi Yom Tov, has got there's a good, like, 700 hours on YouTube to check out. And
700 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hours.
I've watched a lot of it. It's been incredible.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. It's you can't turn it off once I start. I've noticed myself, I'll turn on a video and I know what I'm going to say and I can't turn it off. Jordan Peterson does the same thing. It's called talking hypnosis. So you'll notice we never finish a sentence. Every single sentence finishes with either and or which means, to illustrate, or meaning you just, every single sentence ends with a connector. So you want to press pause because you got to go to the bathroom or you got to go or and you can't. And so what's cool about that is the information that you need to get from it will come in because you're just going to listen. You're going to hear it through.
Is that intentional?
No, I do it by accident.
Very interesting.
That's very interesting.
I do it by accident. A man who teaches it came to Jerusalem. A Gentile man was hired by actually an old age guy, one of the first 2 trained ever by Efim Sfirsky, the hypnotherapist.
Yes.
So he and I are the first English speakers ever given like pure like permission and smicha to go lead, hypnosis, which is, I came just now from taking someone in a hypnosis session and which I think is illegal in Israel. So it's progressive relaxation.
Yeah.
Oh, hypnosis is illegal?
I mean, it probably was at one point. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what's illegal in this country anymore? I mean, Israel's followed the rest of the countries in making nothing illegal anymore. But anyway, so they brought this guy to Israel to speak to a bunch of hypnotherapists or progressive relaxationists. And so after he trained them at the first training, they said, there's a rabbi in the city that does the exact same thing. Huh. And in fact, he's speaking tonight. So the whole group, I was speaking at I don't know, I was speaking on Shmonavi Street.
Okay.
I had an event there, and all of a sudden I noticed like a whole group of like professionals walk in, a Gentile guy amongst them, and they're in the back of the room. I had about 100 people in the room, and this group came in, and they're just listening to me. And he listened to me, and he said, "Yeah, he's doing exactly that." Now I had never heard of such a thing, and
I haven't either.
My friend came up to me. Yeah, listen to Jordan Peterson, and you'll notice not at the very beginning, going about 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Just scroll forward and start listening, and you'll see he will not finish a sentence.
Wow.
There's no finished sentence, and you can't stop listening because when do I stop him? It just keeps going.
It's just kind of one long run-on. Idea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's obviously hours more to talk to you about, but in respect for your time, we would just love to ask our last favorite question, which is, do you have a key to clarity that you would like to offer our viewers? A key to clarity. It could be an idea, something they can take home with them.
A key to clarity.
This is the Living in Clarity podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Find someone with clarity and hang on to his or her coattails. Don't make any of your own decisions. Meaning you can make your own decision, but first get advice from someone with total clarity. If you haven't found someone with total clarity, then find someone. Don't stop until you find them.
Yeah.
Are there signs? Something they should look for?
Signs of someone with total clarity?
Yeah.
Well, one thing is their life should work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, there's a lot of people who are very smart, but their lives don't work.
No.
Mm-hmm.
There's no correlation to how smart you are and how your life works.
Yeah, and there is a correlation to how smart you are and how much trouble humanity's gone through as a result of those smart people. Mm-hmm. Smart people are the most dangerous people. What Torah tells us is that smart with yiras shamayim, meaning someone has to have some kind of awe,
fear of heaven,
or awe of God, consequence. So that ratio of fear of heaven with brain has to be. They have to be together. I mean, they both have to be high, because smarts without that fear is nuclear bombs.
Yes.
Whereas smarts with that fear is
clarity
and wise. Yeah. So maybe that's two things.
Okay.
It's clarity, and it's a clarity that lasts. And the other thing is built to last. That people need to do what's built to last. There's so many shiny things that people get attracted to that aren't built to last, and sometimes it's cute to go for that, rent a Corvette and have fun for the day, but keep your eyes on the things that are going to be forever.
Yeah. That is a great place to end it. Thank you so much for joining us,
sure.
Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser. Thank you for joining this episode of the Living in Clarity podcast.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Living in Clarity podcast.
If you enjoy what you just heard, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment with any suggestions for future episodes.
We'll see you next time.